The demand. The chamber of the Galactic Council was a place built to crush hope. It was designed to make every visitor feel small, with ceilings higher than mountains and walls that glowed with cold alien light. Delegates of hundreds of species sat in their floating seats, each one staring down at the single podium in the center. It was here that countless empires had been humbled, forced to surrender under the weight of alien judgment. And now, it was humanity's turn. The human envoy stood alone in the center. He wore a plain suit, his posture calm, his face unreadable. Before him hovered the council's high speaker, a tall insectoid creature with glittering wings and burning red eyes. Its voice echoed across the hall, translated into dozens of languages at once. "Earth must surrender," the speaker said, its words cutting through the silence like a blade. "You will dismantle your fleets, destroy your weapons, and give full obedience to the laws of the Galactic Council." The alien paused, letting the words hang in the air like a death sentence. "You will kneel, or you will burn." The hall went silent. Delegates leaned forward in expectation, waiting to see humanity's reaction. Most expected fear, some expected tears, and many expected begging. This was how it always went. One species after another had entered this chamber, and one species after another had broken. But the human envoy did not bow. He did not tremble. Instead, he raised his head slowly, and the faintest curve appeared on his lips. He smiled. Whispers rippled through the chamber. The insectoid speaker tilted its head, confused. Had the translator malfunctioned? Had the human not understood the gravity of the demand? The council waited. The silence stretched longer, pressing down like the weight of a collapsing star. And then, the human spoke. His voice was steady, almost casual. "Is that all?" he asked. The delegates froze. Never had a species dared to answer like this. Never had anyone treated the council's demand as if it were nothing more than a child's tantrum. The insectoid speaker's wings rattled in anger, the sound sharp and metallic. "You mock us," it hissed. "You believe your small world can resist the will of the council?" The human did not reply right away. He let the silence grow again, let the aliens stew in their own confusion. His calm eyes scanned the chamber as though he were reading them like an open book. Every delegate felt it, the strange weight behind his gaze, the quiet fire that lived in human eyes. Finally, the envoy said, "Humanity does not kneel." His words were simple, but they carried like thunder. The council chamber shook with the murmurs of terrified voices. The council members could not decide if they had just heard madness, arrogance, or something far worse. The insectoid speaker pounded its claw against the glowing stand, its voice rising in fury. "Enough! Humanity will submit. This is your only warning." Its words echoed so loudly that the walls themselves seemed to shiver, but the human did not flinch. Instead, he did something that froze every heart in the chamber. He laughed. At first, it was a small sound, soft and almost harmless, but then it grew louder, stronger, filling the massive chamber like rolling thunder. The delegates of alien empires shifted uneasily in their seats, unsure whether to feel insulted or afraid. For the first time in history, someone was laughing at the Galactic Council. The speaker's wings clattered wildly, its anger trembling through the air. "Why do you laugh, human? Do you not understand the fire that waits for you?" it demanded. The envoy's smile did not fade. His voice was calm, his words sharp as a blade. "Because we've heard this all before." The council fell into silence once again. Every alien leaned forward, waiting for more. The human's words were strange, dangerous, and carried a confidence they had never seen. The envoy let his laughter fade, leaving only his quiet, steady voice. "You think you can break us with threats?" he said. "You think we will tremble at your power." He shook his head slowly, almost pitying them. "But you forget one thing." His gaze swept across the chamber again, his voice a whisper and yet louder than any roar. "Humanity always answers in its own way." The speaker tried to recover its composure, but its voice cracked as it shouted, "You will regret this arrogance. Your world will be nothing but ash." The human envoy simply tilted his head. his eyes calm and his smile unshaken. "Perhaps," he said, "but not today." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Alien voices rising in panic and outrage. Some shouted for war, some demanded immediate destruction. Others whispered warnings of caution. But through it all, the human envoy stood still, his calm presence more unnerving than any weapon. He turned slowly and walked away from the center of the chamber, his laughter still echoing in the vast hall. The council had made their demand, and humanity had answered, not with fear, not with submission, but with a smile and a laugh. And that laughter, more than any threat, shook the galaxy. The laughter. The echo of human laughter did not fade quickly. It clung to the walls of the council chamber, rolling over the gathered species like a storm that refused to end. Some alien delegates covered their ears, their sensitive hearing overwhelmed by the sound. Others sat frozen in shock, their eyes wide with disbelief. No one had ever heard such boldness. Not here, not in the very heart of the Galactic Council. The insectoid high speaker's wings rattled violently, sparks of fury crackling along its carapace. "Silence this insult," it screeched, its voice shattering against the translation systems. But the human envoy did not stop. His laughter only grew louder, until even the council guards, towering reptilian brutes clad in heavy armor, shifted nervously. The sound was not the laugh of madness nor of foolishness. It was something else. It was confidence. It was defiance. It was a sound that told the galaxy that humanity was not afraid. Finally, the envoy's laughter slowed, fading into a calm, steady smile. He looked around at the sea of alien faces, their expressions twisted with rage, fear, or pure confusion. "Do you know why we laugh?" he asked, his voice low but carrying through the chamber with unsettling clarity. The delegates shifted uneasily, but none spoke. He tilted his head slightly. "We laugh because you think we have already lost." The council stirred, whispers breaking like cracks through glass. The insectoid speaker slammed its claw against the podium. "Your laughter is hollow, your words mean nothing. You will kneel or die." The human envoy's eyes narrowed slightly, his tone sharpening. "No," he said. "We laugh because your threats are old, and your power is not what you think." He took a slow step forward, his footsteps echoing, louder than they should have. Across the chamber, many delegates felt their throats tighten, their instincts screaming danger. It was as if the human carried with him a weight far heavier than his single body. It was as if behind him stood the shadows of countless more. A delegate from the crystalline Zynar collective leaned toward another and whispered, "What if they are prepared?" Another from the scaled Voran Empire hissed back, "They cannot be. They are young, weak, untested." But their voices trembled with doubt. Doubt that spread like wildfire. The insectoid speaker tried again. "You think this is a game, human? You laugh at the council? You laugh at us?" The envoy's smile widened, but his eyes grew cold. "Yes," he said simply, "because fear is the only weapon you know, and fear does not work on us." The chamber erupted in furious shouts, some calling for immediate war, others demanding restraint, but the human did not flinch. Instead, he folded his hands behind his back and waited, as though every voice of anger was nothing but meaningless noise. When the storm of voices finally died, he spoke again, softer, deadlier. "You see, every threat you've spoken, we have already imagined worse, we have already faced worse." His words hung heavy, and though no alien wanted to admit it, some part of them believed him. The insectoid speaker clicked its mandibles, trying to sound confident. "You cannot face the combined fleets of the council. They would blot out your sun." The envoy chuckled again, a quiet laugh this time. "And yet, the sun would rise tomorrow, and humanity would still be here." For a moment silence returned, thick and suffocating. Every delegate could feel the strange shift in the air. The council had demanded surrender, and yet it was they who now seemed uncertain. The humans' laughter had done more than mock their power. It had planted fear where none had existed before. Far above, hidden in the shadows of the upper balconies, Watchers and spies from minor empires whispered to each other, "If humanity laughs in the face of the council, perhaps they are not prey." One murmured, "Perhaps they are the hunters." Another replied. The human envoy turned as if sensing those whispers. His gaze swept upward, sharp and knowing. "Tell your masters," he said calmly, "that Earth does not bow, Earth does not break, and when we laugh, it is not because we are weak. It is because we are ready." The words struck harder than any weapon. Some alien delegates looked away, ashamed by the chill running through their bones. Others glared in hatred, swearing vengeance. But all of them remembered that laughter, and none could forget the way it shook them. The insectoid speaker tried one last time to restore order, its voice trembling. "You cannot stand against the galaxy, human, you are alone." The envoy's smile turned sharp, almost cruel. "Alone?" he repeated, shaking his head. "You will see soon enough how wrong you are." And with that he bowed, not in surrender but in mockery, and walked out of the chamber. Behind him, his laughter rose again, rolling like thunder until it drowned out the voices of the council itself. The galaxy had demanded Earth's surrender, and humanity had answered not with weapons, not with silence, but with laughter that refused to die. The council, divided. The chamber of the Galactic Council did not return to calm after the human envoy left. It boiled with noise, with fear, with anger, with the sound of dozens of species arguing over what had just happened. Never before had the council been mocked so openly, never before had anyone dared to laugh in their faces. The insectoid high speaker slammed its claw against the stand again and again, but even its shrill commands could not silence the storm. Delegates shouted across the chamber, their voices rising in panic. "The humans must be crushed at once," cried a scaled Voran general, his armor clattering as he leaned forward. "They are arrogant children who need discipline," screamed a feathered delegate from the Hilari clans, her wings spread wide in rage. But others were not so certain. The crystalline Zynar delegate flickered with pale light, its voice sharp but uncertain. "You saw how calm he was, how fearless. No, prey looks at predators that way." Whispers followed, many trying not to agree, but the thought lingered in every mind. In one corner, the representatives of the merchant guilds whispered about rumors they had heard, about human warships that never appeared on scanners, about soldiers who trained on death worlds where no alien could survive. Perhaps the laughter was not madness, one muttered. Perhaps it was a warning. The words spread, twisting through the chamber like smoke. The insectoid speaker rattled its wings in fury. "Enough of this cowardice. They are nothing. Their fleets are small, their colonies few. Do you not see what has happened here? They laugh to hide their weakness." But even as it shouted, doubt crept into its own voice, because the truth was clear. The humans had not laughed like the weak, they had laughed like the strong. Across the chamber, the cold-eyed delegate of the Sharn Dominion finally spoke, its voice low and steady. "Mock us if you like, but ask yourself this. When has a weak species ever defied us in this chamber and walked away alive?" The question spread silence. The truth was undeniable. Every empire that had defied the council had been erased. Their fleets burned, their worlds turned to ash. But the humans had walked away, calmly, fearlessly, laughing. That alone was different. Dangerously different. Some delegates began to argue for immediate war. Others demanded spies, investigations, careful study before action. The chamber split down the center, one half screaming for blood, the other half whispering for patience. The division grew, cracks, forming in what had once been a wall of unity. The human envoy had left only minutes ago, but already the council itself trembled. In the shadows above, hidden agents scribbled notes and sent encrypted messages. Information traders smiled behind closed mouths, knowing the galaxy would pay dearly for every word of this debate. Already the whispers of human strength began spreading beyond the council. Walls, whispers of fleets, of weapons, of soldiers that laughed at fear. One delegate, an elder from the aquatic Vera, raised its trembling hand. "My people sense something here," it said softly. "When the human laughed, I heard not foolishness, but certainty. They know something we do not, and that is what frightens me. Its voice was drowned by jeers and shouts, but the truth of it settled in the bones of many who listened. The insectoid speaker finally raised its voice one last time, wings buzzing with rage. We will show them their place. We will send a fleet, and Earth will burn, it declared. But the council was no longer unified. Some cheered, yes, but others shook their heads. Others whispered to themselves that war with such a people might be a mistake. And in the cracks of that doubt, fear grew beyond the chamber. In the long stone corridors of the council spire, smaller groups gathered in secret. The Zynar plotted to send hidden ships to watch humanity more closely. The Vera began to prepare emergency shelters beneath their oceans. Even the Voran, loud in their demand for war, quietly ordered their fleets to double their patrols along their borders. The council had demanded surrender. But now it was divided. No one knew whether humanity was weak or strong, but all agreed on one thing. Something about them was different, far. Away in a secure chamber guarded by silence, 3 elder delegates met in private. "The laughter unsettles me," said one. "It unsettles all of us," said another. "But do you not see? It means they are ready." The third leaned closer, its voice little more than a whisper. "Ready for what?" it asked. The second did not answer. Instead, it stared out through the great windows of the spire, into the endless stars. Whatever it is, the galaxy will soon find out. The council chamber lights dimmed as the session ended in chaos. The insectoid speaker declared war preparations, but already whispers of resistance moved through the halls. The galaxy had seen something it had never seen before. Fear, not in humanity, but in themselves. The laughter of one human had split the greatest power in the galaxy into pieces. And in that silence between their arguments, the seeds of doubt grew into shadows that no empire could ignore. The Shadow Fleet, in the quiet void beyond Terran space, a fleet of ships shimmered in hidden starlight. Not a single scanner in the galaxy could detect them. Not a single council ship had seen their outlines. They were not large, not overly armed, but their presence carried weight heavier than a supernova. The humans called it the Shadow Fleet, though no alien tongue could pronounce the name correctly. Captain Arlen Vale stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Resolute, watching the stars with cold eyes. Behind him the crew moved silently, machines humming, screens flickering, every hand prepared for commands that might never come. Arlen's voice cut the quiet, calm but sharp. "Remember, we do not strike first. We only watch. We wait. We learn." A dozen nods followed, the crew knowing well that humanity's strength was in patience as much as power. The fleet had been hidden for centuries, built in secret on worlds the council thought abandoned. Each ship was engineered to survive environments no alien could endure. Radiation storms, gravity wells, death world atmospheres, extreme temperatures, all were training grounds for Terran vessels. The council believed humans were weak, scattered, insignificant. They had no idea the galaxy's most dangerous weapons sailed silently through the void, waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council's debates continued, unaware that the humans they feared were already in motion. Spies reported strange movements, fleeting signals in the darkness, but no one could locate their source. The Council began sending fleets to patrol the edges of Terran space, but every search ended in confusion. Ships vanished, sensors went dead. Alarms sounded and then nothing. The humans were always one step ahead, always invisible, always watching. On the bridge of the Resolute, Arlen turned to his second-in-command, Lieutenant Marquez. "They think their fleets are intimidating," he said, voice low. "They believe their weapons will frighten us." Mara's eyes glimmered, understanding the unspoken truth. "They will learn that laughter is louder than their fleets," she replied, her hand resting lightly on the console, ready to act at a moment's notice. Below decks, engineers worked tirelessly, maintaining every system, every shield, every engine. They whispered among themselves, stories of humans who had trained on worlds where no alien could survive a day. Stories of pilots who could fly through plasma storms without hesitation. Stories of soldiers who could endure pain that would break the strongest alien mind. Every tale, every memory, reinforced the fear the Council had yet to understand. Far away, scouts observed alien patrols approaching Terran borders. The humans allowed them to come closer, letting sensors pick up their signals, letting them think they were unseen. Then, at the right moment, the Shadow Fleet would strike, not to destroy, but to remind the galaxy that humans were never weak. Remind the galaxy that laughter could echo louder than fear. In the council chambers, debate raged on, louder, angrier, more desperate. Some argued for invasion, some for cautious observation, but none could agree, because none knew what they were up against. Whispers of the Shadow Fleet had begun to reach certain ears, alien ears that had always dismissed humanity. Now doubt crept into even the strongest voices. What if the humans were prepared? What if the laughter had been a warning, not mockery? On the bridge, Arlen leaned forward, eyes on the stars. "They do not understand," he said quietly, almost to himself. "They do not know what it means to fight for survival, to endure when all else fails, to rise when the galaxy expects you to fall." Mara glanced at him, understanding perfectly. "They will learn," she said, voice steady. "And when they do, the galaxy will never forget." The Shadow Fleet moved silently, shadowed by the darkness of empty space. They were a promise, a secret humanity had carried for generations, and soon the Council would see that their demands and threats were meaningless. For humans did not bow, they did not surrender, and they did not fear. The stars stretched before them like a sea of possibilities. Every planet, every system, every corner of the galaxy lay within reach. The Council had made demands. Humanity had laughed. And now, quietly, the Shadow Fleet prepared to ensure that laughter became the galaxy's warning. First contact fire. The Council fleet glided through the edge of Terran space, their ships gleaming under distant stars. Every captain believed they were the hunters, every admiral confident in their superior numbers. They carried weapons designed to obliterate planets, shields that could withstand supernovae, and sensors that could scan an entire solar system. Yet none sensed the silent presence hiding in the shadows. The humans waited, patience sharpened like a blade, for the moment when the galaxy would finally understand. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Arlen Vale stood motionless, eyes locked on the sensor grid. "Target lock on the lead cruiser," he said softly. Lieutenant Marquez leaned over the console, scanning the enemy formations. "They're arrogant," she whispered. "They don't even suspect we are here." Arlen nodded, voice calm but filled with quiet fury. "They will learn," he said, "that underestimating humanity is the deadliest mistake in the galaxy." The human ships emerged from the darkness like ghosts, silhouettes framed against distant suns. They did not fire immediately. They did not scream across the void with warning. Instead, they moved in perfect formation, silent, precise, a shadow army of the unseen. The Council forces detected them finally, but it was too late. Panic rippled through the alien ranks, communications crackling with confusion. Commands shouted and ignored. The first Council cruiser turned its weapons, aiming blindly. A single human pilot, Lieutenant Corensal, maneuvered through the shadows, appearing where sensors could not track. With one pulse from the Resolute, the cruiser's shields flickered and died. Alarms screamed across its hull, and the crew froze in disbelief. How is this possible?" one officer stammered, voice trembling. "They are everywhere and nowhere," another whispered, realization dawning too late. Arlen watched as the chaos unfolded, a small, grim smile on his lips. "Hold fire until they make the mistake," he ordered. The humans did not rush, they did not waste energy on pride, they struck only when precision mattered. When every move could remind the galaxy why humanity had survived against impossible odds, Council ships scrambled, trying to regroup. But the humans had anticipated every maneuver. Drones appeared from every shadow, scouting, disabling, disrupting. Weapons meant to vaporize were rendered useless by simple, unexpected human ingenuity. The aliens had always prided themselves on logic, on their vast fleets, on their fearsome reputations. Yet they had never faced a species that used patience, cunning and endurance as their weapon. Below decks, engineers monitored energy flows, keeping every system at peak efficiency. "Their flagship is vulnerable," whispered a young technician, eyes wide. "Yes," replied Marrakesh, "but we do not destroy without purpose, we teach without mercy." The humans fired precise pulses, not to annihilate, but to cripple, to show their strength without losing control. Each strike, each maneuver, echoed through the council ranks like laughter across the void. The council's communication networks erupted with panic, messages repeating in disbelief. Terran ships, how can they? Invisible, unstoppable. Admirals argued, fleets faltered, morale shattered. Even the most powerful warlords could not comprehend the humans' method. Their fleets were fast, adaptive, relentless, and merciless. They did not fight for glory. They fought for survival, for pride, for the unyielding spirit of Earth. On the bridge of the Resolute, Arlen's eyes scanned the battlefield, calm and unshaken. "They will remember this day," he said softly. "The day they tried to intimidate humanity and learned to fear our laughter." Marrakesh nodded, scanning the final positions. "Fire one more pulse," she said, and the humans struck the council flagship directly. A controlled explosion crippled its engines, leaving it drifting and powerless. The council fleet froze, knowing full well that the humans could have destroyed them all, but chose not to. Arlen stepped forward, voice carrying across the bridge. "Tell the galaxy," he said. "Earth does not bow, Earth does not surrender, and Earth always survives." The Shadow Fleet turned back toward Terran space, silent, invisible once again. Behind them, the Council forces trembled, their arrogance shattered, their demands meaningless. Humanity had answered with fire and laughter, and the galaxy would never forget. The stars stretched endlessly, quiet once more. But now, everywhere, whispers spread among fleets and planets. The humans were coming, and when they arrived, no force could stop them. No threat could silence them. No laugh would go unheard. The Council's panic, the Council, fleet huddled near the edge of Terran space, panic spreading like wildfire across their command networks. Admirals shouted orders, their voices trembling with disbelief and fear. "Why are our fleets failing? How can a single human warship cripple our strongest vessels?" They stared at the drifting flagship of their once great admiral, powerless. The humans had not just fought, they had humiliated them, showing the galaxy that pride was no shield against cunning and resolve. On the bridge of the Resolute, Captain Arlen Vale watched with a quiet intensity. He did not smile, he did not celebrate. Humanity did not need noise to show power. Their actions spoke louder than any trumpet. Marrakesh leaned over the tactical display, her eyes scanning every pulse and shadow. "They are losing control," she said softly. "The panic is spreading faster than their weapons can fire." Arlen nodded. "Let them panic," he said, voice calm. "Fear is the teacher, and today humanity is the lesson." Across the Council fleets, sensors were jammed, engines faltered, and communication lines collapsed. Panic was contagious, spreading from ship to ship like a virus. No admiral could coordinate, no warlord could inspire. They had believed themselves untouchable, logical, supreme. And now they were discovering the truth. The humans were untamed, unpredictable, unstoppable. In the shadows of Terran space, the human fleets moved with silent precision. They did not attack recklessly. They did not fire in blind anger. Each strike was calculated, each maneuver planned. Yet appearing spontaneous, it was a dance of death, choreographed by centuries of human resilience. The Council ships fired desperately, but the humans vanished before impact, reappearing where none expected. The aliens tried to retreat, but the humans anticipated every escape route. Fleet after fleet was cut off, engines crippled, weapons rendered useless. They could not understand how a smaller force could dominate. Logic failed them. Arrogance betrayed them. Fear consumed them. Even The youngest officers whispered rumors across the council network. Humans, they are not just warriors. They are a storm, one said, voice shaking. And storms cannot be contained, replied another, eyes wide with terror. Back on the Resolute, Arlen's hands hovered over the console. He did not give orders for maximum destruction. Humanity did not fight to destroy without purpose. Instead, they crippled, humiliated, and taught a lesson the galaxy would never forget. Send the signal, Arlen said, voice calm but firm. A broadcast rippled across the council networks, human words carrying a simple, unyielding truth. Earth does not surrender, Earth does not negotiate, Earth survives, and all who threaten us will learn to fear our resolve. The council panicked further, their ships scattered in confusion. Some tried to flee to distant systems, others attempted desperate attacks, but every move was anticipated, every plan countered. The humans had prepared, hidden, trained, and endured. They were a force born of struggle, sharpened by adversity and tempered by centuries of survival. And now, they showed the galaxy that survival alone was not enough. Humanity demanded respect in the council. Chambers leaders argued, pointing fingers, shouting accusations. How could this happen? How can humans control the battlefield so completely? Even the most seasoned diplomats quivered, realizing that their threats, their fleets, their laws meant nothing. Humanity did not respond with rage. They responded with cunning, patience, and precision, and it was devastating. Below decks of every human ship, engineers monitored energy, weapons, and shields. Every system was optimized, every soldier ready, every captain alert. Humanity had survived countless threats, but this was their moment to demonstrate, to the Council, to the galaxy, to themselves, that humans were not just survivors, they were hunters, strategists, and unyielding warriors. The Council fleet faltered again, engines stuttering, weapons misfiring. Chaos spread like wildfire, discipline crumbling, fear overwhelming strategy. The humans watched, silent shadows against the stars. Then, with a single coordinated pulse, they disabled the Council command ship, leaving it drifting, powerless. The Council panicked completely, their arrogance shattered, their demands meaningless. Humanity had answered once again, not with words, but with undeniable action, and in awe. The void of space whispers spread among fleets and colonies. Humans, unstoppable, unpredictable, undefeated. The galaxy had learned a truth that day, one that would echo for generations. The humans did not just fight. They survived. They dominated, they laughed. Humanity's warning. The void was silent, the stars watching as the remnants of the Council fleet drifted aimlessly. Their engines sputtered, their weapons offline, their pride shattered. Humanity's fleets glided through the darkness, quiet, precise, unyielding. They did not celebrate. They did not gloat. They let the silence speak for them. Captain Arlen Vale stood on the bridge of the Resolute, eyes scanning the horizon. The galaxy had witnessed something no one thought possible. A single human fleet had routed a Council force far larger and far more advanced, and yet Arlen's mind was not on victory. It was on the message they had to send. A message not of war, but of warning, of resolve, of what it meant to threaten. Earth Marrakes leaned over the communication console, fingers hovering. The Council is trying to send a retreat signal, she said, voice steady. They want to run, to survive, to lick their wounds. Arlen shook his head. They need more than that, he said, voice calm but firm. Humans do not fight for fun, we fight for survival. And survival teaches lessons. We will make sure they remember today, every mistake, every arrogance, every lie. The human broadcast went out, not just to the Council, but to every system within view. It was a simple message, spoken in countless languages, translated by human AI, and it carried weight, power, authority. Earth does not bow, Earth does not surrender, Earth does not negotiate with threats. We survive, we endure, we defend, and all who stand against us will learn what it means to challenge humanity. Across the galaxy, colonies and fleets paused, listening, watching, calculating. The council was shattered, scattered, humiliated. Even their most loyal commanders whispered to their crews, voices trembling, "Humans, they are not like us. They are different, unstoppable." Fear spread, not of weapons, but of something deeper. A human will, a human cunning, a human ability to survive and dominate. On the bridge of the Resolute, Arlen turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleets for withdrawal," he said, voice steady. "The lesson has been delivered, but the galaxy must remember that humans are not easily contained." Shields were recalibrated, engines warmed, crews returned to stations. Every movement precise, every action controlled. Humans did not need chaos to show strength. They needed focus, patience, and resolve. In the council chambers, arguments turned to fear to despair. Ambassadors, admirals, and warlords realized that their era of supremacy had ended. They had underestimated humanity, dismissed Earth as a backwater, a weakling, a minor threat. And now, every mistake was evident, every calculation wrong, every arrogance punished. Even the youngest cadets in the council fleets understood the new truth. Humans were not just another species. They were hunters, survivors, strategists, and warriors beyond imagination. They thrived in adversity. They turned weakness into strength, and they could strike when least expected, with precision, with patience, with unstoppable force. Arlen Vale watched the council signals fade. Their panic, their fear, their broken communication networks told the story. Humanity had survived. Humanity had endured. Humanity had triumphed. But this was not the end. It was the beginning of a new era, an era where the galaxy would measure all actions against the standards set by Earth. Mara Kess stepped beside him, eyes scanning the stars. "They will think twice next time," she said softly. "They will remember today and fear it." Arlen nodded. "Let them remember," he said, voice firm. "For humans do not seek war. We seek survival, and those who threaten survival learn consequences." In the distance, a council transport ship attempted to flee. Engines flaring, but it was too late. Humanity's sensors tracked every movement. Every council ship knew it. Every colony knew it. And a silent truth echoed across the stars. Humans were not just survivors. They were the storm, the force, the reckoning. The Resolute turned, leading the human fleets back to Earth. No one cheered. No one celebrated loudly. Victory was quiet, earned, undeniable. Humanity had answered the galaxy's threats. Not with rage, not with blind fury, but with intelligence, courage, and unstoppable resolve. And as Earth's blue oceans and green continents came into view, every human aboard felt the weight of the lesson delivered. They had not only survived, they had shown the galaxy that humans did not surrender. They did not bow. They did not break. And the memory of this day, this warning, would ripple through the stars forever. The council would speak of it in whispers. Colonies would plan differently. Fleets would calculate with caution, for the humans had reminded the galaxy that some storms cannot be tamed, some forces cannot be stopped, and Earth was one of them.